Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Scott.
Hump Day.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Edition of Today in Sports Betting. And we're going to do it MLB style first. Scott, take a look at these two MLB games while we still have two MLB games because it looks like I don't know, man. Could be going fast here.
We might have to start breaking down KBO matchups again.
I know. The KBO started before and is still going on. And I don't know, man. The Atlanta Braves let the Dodgers back in last night. The Rays rolled up the Astros once again. So we ended up having no action on our Dodgers play as Clayton Kershaw had back spasms, and he should be back for Game 4, they're saying. But yeah, we talked a little bit about it, you and I, by text. It was Ian Anderson's kind of turning into Robbie Ray, giving up 5 walks and 5 strikeouts, 1 hit over the course of 4 innings. Throws
and no runs.
And no runs, and that's the difference between him and Robbie Ray, is he got the outs when he needed them with men on base. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of that kid. Yeah, obviously he's a little wild still, but it ended up being a fine performance by the Braves offense, and then they almost choked it away in the 8th and 9th inning. Josh Tomlin, Scott, I've told you, he is not good at all, and he certainly showed it yesterday coming out of the pen. Your thoughts on that Braves-Dodgers game?
I don't know if I can fully say that it shifts any momentum in the series because the Dodgers lost the game anyway and they're down 2-0. I got to assume that it does something, at least to maybe Melanson, who didn't look good in the 9th and he struggled as well. Atlanta's bullpen has been their bread and butter in the playoffs so far. It unraveled very, very quickly in the last game. And I got to assume this can provide some confidence to the Dodgers moving forward. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Well, yeah, in a way. Although, as you know, especially with the Yankees there, you've got two groups in the bullpen. You got the group you put in when the game's in doubt, when it's tight and you need outs. And then you got the other group that you put in to save the other group's arms. You've got the guys that are down at the back end of the bullpen that you put in when the score.
I think Josh Tomlin's part of the less important group.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you look at the pictures Atlanta put out yesterday, they kind of waved the white flag a little bit.
There was a bunch of innings eaters mixed with Melanson to bail everybody out in the rest of the whatever. But Melanson didn't look good.
No, he ended up getting the final out, but it was certainly a struggle there. That was a fun 9th inning. I was actually out with the family watching a little horrible football, which. That one, holy crap! Where you and I were both blindsided on that game, but it
was fine. I assumed that Tennessee would be rusty with no real practice for the last 2 weeks, and they were anything but rusty. So it makes me wonder. I don't know. Maybe Allen Iverson was right when he said we're talking about practice, but we'll see. I don't know. Tennessee might just be really good, and I already know Mike Vrabel's a very good coach. But back to baseball. Yeah, it was a very solid game. I know we both like the Braves, but unfortunately, all that value disappeared once Kershaw was in it. You still had some value on Atlanta at a plus price. So if you still liked Atlanta, then it was fine. But, yeah, Gonsolin struggled. And Pedro Baez for the Dodgers should never pitch again for the Dodgers.
I wasn't aware Pedro Baez was still on the Dodgers until yesterday.
Awful.
We hadn't seen him much at all.
Really bad. But, yeah, Dodgers gave up that home run in the 9th to Albies, and that home run in the 9th turned out to be
ended up being the game winner, right? Who would have known? As that was the 8th run, and that was the one that ended up making the difference. So today, Scott, we've got Jose Urias against Kyle Wright for the Dodgers, 6:05 Eastern start time. And this is, once again, Scott, a big number for the Dodgers, minus 184. You want to jump on the Braves Express, plus 169, 9.5 is the number there. They're not falling for the old banana in the tailpipe again. No more of that 7.5, 8 shit, Scott. We've got it capped at 9.5 as the offenses have been pretty good for these two teams. So how do you make this one?
So I have a couple of questions here. First of all, what's the Dodgers team total over on that one? Is it still 4.5, 5.5 for this
It's gonna be
matchup?
5.5. Yeah,
No, but I'm saying like both teams will be around 4.5, 5.5, right?
5.5, 3.5.
It is 3.5. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
because the spread's so big.
I assumed as much. Is why I was asking. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if playoff baseball had a different type of.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Truth is that the value's on Atlanta, of course, because they're up 2-0, and now you're getting plus 160 something. So that makes perfect sense there. If you want to go with Atlanta, and the Dodgers are going to win today. I actually think that outburst in the last couple of innings is going to carry over. I think that is exactly what the Dodgers needed to show at least some signs of life from a lineup that was doing absolutely nothing for about the first, I'd say, 15 innings of the series.
Yeah.
Something like that. They were doing nothing. So they finally woke up. They did something in the end. I think that the Dodgers starting pitcher is pretty good in comparison to Kyle Wright, who we both don't like, even though Wright was very good in his postseason, for his first postseason start of the season.
Yeah, and he was good. He was good in his last 3 regular season starts too, Scott. 2.37 ERA over his last 3 regular season appearances, and then through that gem against Miami, like you alluded to, 6 innings of no-run ball. I believe he gave up 2 hits to the Fish, and very important to Kyle Wright, just 1 walk, because he does have a tendency, as many youngsters do, to walk more batters than he should. So
Yeah, just one more question. The 3.5 on the Braves. What's the juice on
that? Minus 150. It's 3-2. 3-2, buddy.
Yeah, I assumed it would be something like
Get
that.
yourself a big piece of pie right there.
Yeah. It's really a tough spot just because I really think that obviously if you're going for value, which is what we preach on this channel, you kind of have to look towards the Braves because they are that big of an underdog. Do I really want to lay minus 120, minus 125 with the Dodgers run line? No. Yeah, you know what? For the sake of runs being at relative premium in the playoffs, I'll take the Braves team. I'll take the Braves plus 1.5 at roughly plus 105, plus 110.
All right, that's not a terrible play. Plus 105 is your number there.
Plus, there is a chance that I don't know. I feel like being the home team is a little bit of a benefit there, just based on the fact that I just really think that this game's going to be very, very close throughout because of the fact that the Braves have been very competitive in the playoffs. And although that the bullpen, I do agree, it was the B bullpen, not the A bullpen, that struggled yesterday because they threw in a bunch of pitchers just to eat up innings.
Right.
I think the regular bullpen guys will be back on track, and I do think that Atlanta's lineup is still very good. So I do think that this game will be very close, and for that reason, I'll take the plus 1.5 runs and assume the Dodgers will either win by exactly 1 or that the Braves will come out on top. So I'm going to go with the plus 1.5 runs there.
All right, I'm gonna fade recent trends here, Scott. I think both of these pitchers are going to have good performances. I just got a gut feel about it. I think Kyle Wright has figured something out there. Urias has been fine, although here's the deal with him: he hasn't made a playoff start since 2016. He's been used mainly in a relief role, and remember the last time we saw him last year in the playoffs, it didn't go well. But I think these guys both bring it today. I'm gonna play the first 5 under.
Okay.
And only because we're getting 5.5, Scott, with a line at 9.5. That is almost unheard of.
Yeah, that's high.
And I think that's normally going to be somewhere in the 5 range. I like that extra half run. Gives me a 3-2 winner, 4-1 winner. I like the sound of all of that. I'll take the first 5 under 5.5.
Okay.
All right, taking a look next, Scott, at a possible closeout game here is the Tampa Bay Rays. They're not flashy. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody sees them on TV every Saturday playing the Red Sox. All they do is what, Scott?
They keep winning.
All they do is win, baby. That's it. Today they go up against the Astros. They are the favorite to close it out, minus 141. And Astros plus 130. 8 is your total there as Zach Greinke goes against Tyler Glasnow for the Tampa Bay Rays. Glasnow very good his last time out. Zach Greinke has been pretty stunningly average this postseason. Your thoughts on this one?
So I find this matchup pretty fascinating from Glasnow's perspective Because last year, he had 2 starts in the playoffs against Houston in the ALDS. First start, solid, ended up losing, but was still solid. And the second start was Game 5, where there were rumors that he was tipping his pitches, and Houston absolutely torched him.
Yeah, well, now we know how that was working with tipping his pitches.
Well, no, that was actually him tipping his pitches. The garbage can stuff and all that happened, I believe it was the year prior, etc. But Glasnow was tipping his pitches. There were videos made about it. He was doing something different with his actual windup, which was giving away his curveball. And there were videos about it. You can actually find that. So that actually wasn't – I don't believe it was assisted. I think that was actually tipping his pitches, but we'll see. But overall, Glasnow, when he's not tipping his pitches, tends to be very good against Houston, from what I've seen before. And Greinke, been average in the postseason. Also, they had to push his start back because he was injured. And now he's healthy enough to pitch, but I don't exactly know how healthy he is. So it's kind of a dicey situation there. I'm going to go with Tampa team total over here. I'm going to take Glasnow out of the equation. If Tampa is the road team, they're against a starter that has been struggling a little bit lately and a starter that isn't 100% healthy. Plus, Houston's bullpen, as they proved yesterday, is not really up to par in this matchup. So for that reason, I'll back Tampa's lineup. I like what I've seen so far. I like the situational hitting, and this team can actually hit more home runs than people think. So for me, I'll go with Tampa team total over, which should be around, what is that, 4.5, like minus 110 or something?
4.5 minus 115. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I think that's solid. I think that's better value than laying minus 141 on the Rays. And like you said, that does take Glasnow out of the equation. Glasnow has been
fine with, because you look good against the Yankees on 2 days rest, but now he's pitching in this game. I have to question a little bit if there will be some arm fatigue in there. Maybe. Who knows? But I'm not going to get involved.
He went just 2 1/3 against the Yankees through 37 pitches. And that was when was that, Scott? That was
Friday.
The 9th. So yeah, that was Friday. Yeah, I think he should. He should
be fine. I'm just saying that you can bring that up as a potential uncertainty. So that's why I think there is a chance Glasnow could struggle. Do I think he will? Probably not, because I don't know if Houston mentally checked out of the series or not after losing yesterday's game. But I'm just going to go against Greinke because he is definitely not in the current, I'd say, state or form that you'd want him to be in a closeout game. And I like how Tampa's offense has been performing.
Yeah, he had a nice game against Minnesota, although it did only go 4 innings, gave up 1 earned, but very un-Greinke-like in that Minnesota game. He walked 3, Scott. That's not generally what Zach Greinke gets in trouble with. He's usually going to get in trouble with giving up hits, but he does challenge the hitters. But so that was for him. That little spate of wildness was kind of unusual. And against against Oakland, he was not good in his last time out. 4 2/3, 5 hits, 4 earned. One walk, give up 2 home runs, and I think that's probably closer to the Greinke we're going to see today.
Mm-hmm. And I think you'll agree with me that Houston's bullpen isn't instilling much confidence in batters right now.
No, and with no off days, Scott, with 3 straight games, you start to get a little fatigue down in that pen. Mm-hmm. Guys that normally are available are not available. So, yeah, I like, and I mainly I think Tampa Bay is going to win this.
I think they should.
But I think just for value, I think that's a good play, playing that over 4.5 at minus 115 as opposed to laying minus 141. And in the off chance it turns into a shootout and the Houston ends up winning 7-6 or something ridiculous, we still cash the winning ticket there. So yep. Yeah, I think that's good. Any thoughts on the over under 8?
I'd lean over. I think that even though this series has been pretty low scoring, and I'm pretty sure we disagreed on the total yesterday. I like Houston winning, but I still lean to the under, I believe, because I thought that Urquidy would pitch pretty well. Game barely went under somehow because you had 2 bases loaded situations late in the game with no runs.
Right.
So that ended up working out, I guess. But I'm going to lean to the over because I think both pitchers, at least starters, have a little bit of uncertainty in this matchup with Glasnow with potential arm fatigue. And I think that Greinke is just not as good as his name indicates at this stage. And I think that there is a chance that both starters can struggle. both bullpens. If we're talking about bullpens being fatigued, I think Tampa Bay's bullpen should be missing some arms because Castillo's had to close each of the first 3 games of this series.
He has to be unavailable today.
That's what I'm saying. So he'll probably not be available. I know Fairbanks pitched yesterday also. I believe Curtis pitched yesterday also. So Tampa might be short on some arms, especially if they're up 3-0 and they decide, maybe we can try to fit in some other guys. I think you could see, I don't want to say a B bullpen from Tampa because that doesn't exist.
A-.
Yeah, A- or so.
Yeah.
Which, might provide a little bit of, I'd say, assistance for Houston because they clearly weren't hitting the top guys.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. But I'm going to lean to the over 8.
Okay. Yeah. And I think Tampa Bay, I think you're absolutely onto something there. I think they do use this as a semi-rest day for a lot of guys down in the plant.
Have to, right? I mean,
you don't get
off at all.
You don't get no off day. You get no off days in this series.
I don't know if it's going to matter if they get to Greinke early. Then who cares? But
exactly. But I thought baseball had done a pretty good job figuring out the series and getting.
I think you need at least one day off.
Yeah, I think you just.
I think this is brutal.
I think you still take the traditional day off after the second game. That makes sense to me.
If you're going to have one day off, then maybe after game 3, maybe.
Okay, well, if you want to do something different, I don't care. I
don't know, but throwing out the same pitchers over and over again from a 7-day stretch, especially since we've been roasting the rotations of every single team this season for throwing out a bunch of random arms.
Right.
You're going to make them go 7 game days. That's nuts.
Yeah, I don't understand that. It's like you're running 400 meters and now you're going to have to run.
It's like baseball decided we got this far, so might as well speed up the process more by going 7 straight. I'm like, no, you can add an off day. You made the bubble. You're fine. Just add a day off. Let these people breathe a little bit, and you'll figure it out. But that's why I don't blame some of these managers with the bullpens. And that's why I think that over-managing is a serious issue because people are burning multiple pitchers, and they just can't afford to.
Well, yeah, when you've got starters, backing up, going, 4 innings, 3 innings, it's going to eventually take a toll on that bullpen.
That's why the Yankees decision, which actually worked itself out because Montgomery was very good in Game 4, that's why using Garcia mixed with J. Happ was a disaster.
Right.
You had no arms left. Of course, Montgomery ended up pulling out a great performance, and that didn't really matter in the end because you got the call in Game 5 is what you wanted. But if there were days off, maybe you can get away with a strategy move like that. You really can't now because you have to preserve the arms.
Yep, totally agree.
So, I don't know. That we're on the same page there. I think they should have added a day off or 2 in between.
Yeah, no question. All right, bud. Well, that wraps up the baseball show for today. Of course, as always, if you're looking for a little deeper dives into both of these games.
I want to actually ask you something. I know that you have no real skin on the situation. I know both of us liked Atlanta before the season started to win the World Series. But I don't want to say, is there a team you're rooting for? Because I know that we're a gambling channel. But is there a team that you would be, I'd say, the least bothered by when it comes to winning?
I'd be happy with the Braves or Tampa.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think anyone in America wants to see Houston there. And I take perverse delight in watching the Dodgers spend all that money and then falter in the playoffs every single year. So, I would be happy with either one of those. If it came down to those two, I'd probably root for Atlanta. I like that team. I like the way they've been able to keep going, regardless of the fact they have zero pitching.
They have a lot of young guys who I like, plus veterans, Freeman, who I love, Markakis, very underrated outfielder over the years.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see those guys get rings for sure.
Yeah, my follow-up question there is if the Braves end up playing the Rays, which is what it looks like it's going to be,
right.
The Dodgers are live, but that's the best chance right now. How badly is Atlanta going to piggyback those World Series ratings?
What do you mean?
In terms of people watching the game. I'm assuming like a decent portion of the viewers would be people who are either from Atlanta or people who root for the Braves because I don't know who cares about Tampa outside of Tampa Bay.
Right. Yeah, I think so what exactly is your question?
My question, it was kind of just a rhetorical question, but just in general, I'm assuming the ratings aren't going to be very. I'm assuming the ratings aren't going to be very good, but most of the ratings will be from Braves fans.
Oh yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Well, they're a much larger market than Tampa to start.
But that's why I said it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I totally agree.
Is there like a worst case scenario than for baseball than Tampa being in the World Series?
No, there isn't. I mean, KC maybe. Cincinnati, perhaps. I don't know. You just don't have many smaller markets than Tampa Bay.
Or is Oakland better than Tampa in terms of ratings? I don't even know. I'm assuming better.
Oakland
has got to be bottom of the barrel when it comes to ratings.
Yeah,
it has to be.
Oh, it is.
I mean, I'm still happy that Tampa. I know they beat my Yankees, but they're a great baseball team. I'm happy that they could potentially win their first ever title. But I'm sure there's a lot of people in Manfred's office who are, hoping that Houston makes a comeback.
And the Dodgers as well.
Yes.
They're
Dodgers is the definite matchup for ratings that Manfred and everybody were hoping for.
Yeah, they're really rooting for the Dodgers here. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, that's also a drama, and that's a bunch of background storylines and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain part of me that wouldn't mind seeing Tampa win it simply because they reinvented the way a lot of managers think about their starting rotation, Scott, and that's a pretty big deal.
I think Kevin Cash is a very, very good manager. So
yeah, I mean you can't argue with that. I mean, Major League Pitching did it this way for 150 years.
They brought in the opener, and they
and then they Kevin Cash said, well, why don't we do it this way? And they stood it on its head. And they started with the reliever. They bring in a guy to do 3 or 4 innings, and it totally revamped the way that. And now you see other managers going that way. It's like and I talk about this guy a lot, and I can never remember his name. He coaches at the Pulaski Academy in Arkansas. He has changed the way that NFL coaches now go about their business on 4th down. One guy was responsible for that, and it took about 10 or 12 years for him to catch up and figure out that the math really did work about not punting from your own 45-yard line when it's 4th and 2. That was just ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm going to give props to anybody that was a huge innovator like that and completely turned baseball on its head. So,
I think he'll be rewarded with a Manager of the Year award along with potentially a World Series trophy. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, very good. Should be some fun baseball, and win, lose, or draw. Scott and I are going to be back tomorrow to take a look at 1 or 2 games. We'll see how that goes. We could be back tomorrow to take our look at 1 game, and it could be the last one. So we'll see what happens. Should be some fun baseball as always. If you want to check out more information on that, deeper dive into both of those games, check out winnersandwhiners.com. And for all of us over here at winnersandwhiners.com, for myself, for Scott Reichel, appreciate you watching today. As always, we hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. And we'll see you next time on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.